Hello, my name is James. I teach English in El Paso, Texas, mostly to people who speak Spanish as a native language, but to speakers of other languages as well. And I have a chart which I've developed to help teach vowel sounds, English vowel sounds, to speakers of other languages. English is a little bit complicated, a little bit unusual in that it includes many more vowel sounds than a lot of other languages. For instance, I work with a lot of people who speak Spanish as a native language, and Spanish has 5 vowel sounds and also 5 vowel letters. And so it's very simple to go from a written Spanish word to the pronunciation, the correct pronunciation. There's very little need for any more explanation. The letters, in general, there is a one-to-one correspondence between letters in Spanish and sounds in Spanish, especially with vowels, so that there's very little confusion about what a letter, what a written letter means as far as a sound. English does not have that happy, simple situation. It's much more complicated in English. The first level of complication is that English includes more than 5 vowel sounds. We have 12 basic vowel sounds. We have 4 common diphthongs, and they're all necessary to understanding how to listen to English, distinguish between words, and also how to speak English in a way which is very easy to understand for your listeners. So your listeners are expecting certain distinctions that it helps for them if you can make them. And also, when you're listening, it's very convenient to be able to make these distinctions when you hear the English vowel sounds. So I've found it very useful at times to talk about English vowel sounds, and I've developed a chart which is my way of communicating with students about the English vowel sounds. Now, my chart is not unique to me. It is developed from a linguistics chart which shows the vowel sounds in relationship to one another in something of a map, of a mouth map, a map of your mouth. Okay, so what do we have here? On my chart, we've got the top of the chart corresponds to vowel sounds which are made with your mouth relatively closed, your tongue relatively high in your mouth. We have down, as you go down the chart, your mouth opens more, and when you get to the bottom of the chart, you've got a vowel sound which is made with the mouth open, the tongue relatively down. So here we have E, I, A, A. Notice A. Okay, my mouth is open. A bit more open, Ah. Okay, so this corresponds to something you're really physically doing with your mouth. On this side of the chart, we have sounds that are created with the mouth more rounded and also the tongue further back in the mouth. The top of the chart is the mouth more closed. The bottom of the chart is the mouth more open. So here we go. If we have ah, the completely open sound, when we want to make aw, what we do is we round the mouth to some extent. Ah, aw. There it is. Okay? That's the distinction. Here's a distinction which is not made in Spanish, for instance. Okay? So as we go up, o, rounded mouth more closed. Ah, more open. O, more closed. Ooh, very closed. Okay? So that's how this chart works. Let's see. I wanted a system to easily refer to all the sounds. Now, there's already a system which has been invented. It's called the International Phonetic Alphabet. Some of you may be familiar with that, and if you are, it simplifies the study of English. It really does. It helps. However, I don't find the IPA is International Phonetic Alphabet. I don't find the IPA symbols particularly easy to use. I prefer the numbering system which I have placed on my chart. It is not the only numbering system. which has been invented for English, but I find it useful. It's similar to some other systems I've had. Let me show you what I don't like about the IPA system. Also, the thing is, there are competing systems. You look in some dictionaries and you will find symbols exactly like these, which I have here. Other times you'll find symbols which are, in one way or another, modified. For instance, this symbol here is modified. In the International Phonetic Alphabet, E in English is written with this symbol, but the added 2 dots, which is to show that it extends in time a little bit. It's not a pure short E as in Spanish, okay? But you'll find many dictionaries which don't include this information. They do that for simplicity, ease of printing, who knows why. They don't include that. And so you've got these differences which may be confusing to a language learner. All right. Also, then this symbol refers to the sound to I. I. Well, both of these are a version of the letter I, but they have different interpretations. I find that confusing. I imagine that would be confusing for a language learner, to have 2 versions of the same letter referring to different sounds. The problem, let's see, one challenge that English language learners who come from Spanish have is that the E and the I are difficult to distinguish. And having these symbols so similar doesn't seem to me a good system for emphasizing the differences, which is helpful, very helpful to those students. Okay, then you get to A, and the IPA does something which I respect here. They include 2 symbols because there really is a movement from A to I. A. My mouth, you can see, my mouth moves. A. So it's not a pure sound. And the IPA reflects that. That number 3 here is not a pure sound. It's reflected here, 2 symbols. Okay, very good IPA. However, you get to number 4, and you've got another version of the letter E, right? And look, and when the student learns the letter E, well, that corresponds to sound number 1. Yeah, it's a confusing business, okay? I prefer to leave all these symbols out of it and refer to the sounds by numbers, okay? Sound number 1, sound number 2, sound number 3, okay? I prefer that method rather than, and here, go to an example like this. How do I refer to this sound without creating the sound or drawing the symbol? Okay, it's difficult. And if I create the sound, but I'm teaching the sound, how does that help for me to make the sound? It's cumbersome. It's cumbersome. I'd much rather refer to number 4. Anyway, so this is my method. On another video, I've gone through and actually spoken the sound and a short sentence which features the sound at least 3 times. And therefore you can have some idea of how we make the sound. I will take up spelling later on in other videos. Yeah, so English has 2 layers of complication. One complication is the additional sounds that we have, and another level of complication is our spelling is not consistent. So I will help you deal with that. Thank you. Jesus.